Welcome to the I Fired My Boss franchise podcast. My name's Dan Claps, founder and CEO of Franchise Playbook, a franchisor platform where we create, own, and operate dynamic franchise brands in the mobile services space. And my life's goal is to help people just like you fire their boss and become a business owner.
Welcome to another episode of the I Fired My Boss podcast. Very excited because we're actually live today here in Madison, Wisconsin. We're only a few hours out from kicking off the One Voda conference, our first franchise owner conference. Got about a couple hundred people coming here tonight, so very excited. But since we're here, we got some of our guys together, Sean Gilmore and Keith Nash. What's going on, guys?
What's up? How's it going, man?
Early franchise owners. I'll tell you some background stories. I'll never forget Sean. Him and I connected. Jersey guys originally. I think I used to maybe poach some of his call center people from Momentum.
Probably.
He didn't know that. But we hit it off. He flew into Florida when I was there in the winter, and we started making video content right away.
Yeah, I think that was the day your planes was like super late. It was like 4 hours late or whatever. I was just hanging out, doing work and whatnot. You were so apologetic. I'm like, nah, man, it's cool. Like, and we just jumped right into business and started talking. It was great.
Yeah.
I was excited that day too to meet you, and it was a big deal for me.
It was a great day. We spent the day together. And then Mr. Nash here, if I remember correctly, my good friend Aaron at Rolling Suds, you guys were getting close to doing something that didn't end up, materializing, and Voda was your second choice. So I'm glad. No, I was kidding.
Not second choice. It's funny, when I was going through the process of whittling down what franchise I wanted to go with, I was in the process with Rolling Suds, and Aaron, looked me dead in the eye and he says, "Keith, who else you talking to?" And I says, "Well, I'm really heavily considering Voda." And he says, "Listen, based on what you've told me and your personality, you should go with Voda."
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, all right, if somebody else, another franchise owner, is saying Voda is like the perfect fit for you,
Yeah.
that was all I needed to hear.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that happened. All right. Well, let's kick it off. My first question is, what drew you both to and by the way, Sean is in the Carolinas. Keith is in Chattanooga. What drew you into franchising initially?
Well, I'll tell you right now, I was in corporate America with a telecommunications company for 7 years, and I kind of was seeing how the hierarchy was, and I wasn't growing with that company, and I had a couple Airbnbs. I do, a couple side businesses of my own after hours, and I was like, yeah, I know I can manage a business. I know I can grow a business, but I wanted to get into a business model that's already set up. I didn't want to buy someone's business that was local. And I've been looking into franchises for 4 or 5 years. So I was early 30s, I would say. So I've always been intrigued by, hey, you buy into a business model, you have that support, you have that help. But what industry to go into? I must have looked at dozens and dozens of industries and talked to dozens and dozens of recruiters and CEOs and VPs and whatnot. And I'll be honest, you guys are by far the most impressive and had the most support. And even a lot of the other recruiters or whatnot, they told me, if you go with a franchise, I want to go with one that has the most support. And with what you guys were saying and how you guys were running things and, the coaches that we have and the support we have in the back end and all the playbooks that we have, not even a question that this was the right pick. And I'm happy I did it. I'm a year in now. I don't regret anything that I've done. I'm sure I've made my mistakes along the way as a business owner and, maybe some purchases and whatnot. But in the long run, you learn from those mistakes and you grow from them.
Yeah.
So
it's so wild just to share, point of this podcast, get like gritty and deep and transparent. I remember you were looking at Voda, and we had a development rep that was with us that, things didn't work out. So they had a pipeline of people that were in the process, and I was trying to call them and try to move them into our process. And I just remember I was driving from here to the training center. I had like 10 minutes. I was like, let me call this Sean guy. I called you. It was like I feel like if you didn't pick up at that moment, like we wouldn't have gotten here. So it was just great timing.
I was in my office that day when you called too, and I was waiting to hear from you guys because it was Chelsea. I remember it specifically, Chelsea that I was talking to, and I just kind of died. The conversation died, and I'm like, oh well, someone will reach out to me, and I shot her an email once or twice. I just waited a day or two, and then you called me.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, I'm happy you called me. All right,
yeah, and we hit it off right away.
Yeah, and I think for me, the really attractive part about getting into a franchise system is the ability to start in an industry that you've never been in before, you know, with and have that support, like Sean mentioned, to be able to open up a business, know how to do things from day one and how to run this business and how to run the playbook, just like you said, that really was attractive to me. Because yeah, I could spend, you know, 5-10 years learning how to do a specific business by myself, but you know, when it comes down to it, if I can condense that to 2 years or less than a year, why wouldn't I do that? Yeah. It's a cheat code.
You guys already made the mistakes, so teach us not to make those mistakes. Yes, right. So it's like, again, you're getting into a business model that works. So.
Yeah. What would you say you didn't know about franchising before that now you know that you wish you knew?
I know you guys have system and processes, but I guess the systems that you use, the softwares that you use, the process that you implement, each franchise is going to have their own software, all different processes, operations, whatever, depending on the industry or whatnot. But learning those software, learning those processes and whatnot was very intriguing to me because I'm a very like operational guy. Like, how does things work, right? And how do things work on the back end? How do things work with marketing, you know, and, you know, how do things work with the CRM and, you know, how can you use those tools to your advantage in your industry? And that's what intrigues me the most when it comes to that.
Yeah. That's a great question because there's so much to absorb, you know, when you first start. And really there's a lot more that goes into it from the business ownership perspective and actually running a business that's just impossible to put into a playbook because every business is different. So I think for me, that's something that, I didn't know getting into it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What would you say? You had the moment where you knew Voda was the right fit for you, but where was the moment when you started operating the business where it was confirmed for you, like, this is the right industry for me, restoration and cleaning?
May 17th, 2024.
Oh, wow. You know the date.
I will never forget it.
May 17th. Okay.
Yes, it rained all day in Chattanooga. There was, we did 3 calls that day. I got 5 calls total that day to come help people. The third and final call that we got to at about 7:00 at night. It was a 92-year-old Korean War veteran and his wife, and their septic system backed up, and they were, in poor health. The man had just come back from hospice, and I immediately felt I need to take care of these people. And we were there till probably about midnight that night and helping them, getting them stabilized and getting them set up. We had to move their bed out into their sunroom that was next to it and cleaning everything up and being sure that everything was safe for them to still be in. I remember thinking, this is it. This is my calling. This is where I am supposed to be. I felt more fulfillment and satisfaction in those 4 hours than I had in the previous 10 years as a software engineer. I could not describe it. Yes, that job will forever stick in my, because that's when I knew. In fact, at BNI, the next week at BNI, I stood up and I said, "Hey, this is it. I have found my calling. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life."
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that date like that. That's cool.
Another good story. I don't have a story like that, but I will tell you, after researching all the different industries, I was looking for a need, right? Like, I want to provide a need for the community. And it's not one of those things where someone's like, "Oh, well, I would want this, or I could use this." It's like, oh, I need someone to help me, and I want to be that person to help. When that person in the community is panicking or has some kind of disaster or whatnot, like, we could be there to help, and put them at ease and give them that peace. And I feel like, in a lot of my career, I've had to put people at peace, and I feel like I'm very good at that. So I have no issue running in operations of putting people at peace.
Yeah.
So
Putting people to rest over there? Is that what you're doing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you laying them out? He's putting people to rest. Sorry, I got to put you down.
No. But I just knew, like, before I got into it, I'm like, I need a need for the community and something that's profitable, something that makes sense, something that, you're going to be able to have a fulfillment from it and make money from it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, mine, for me, there was two moments that I don't know the exact date. I wish I did, but there was two for me. First was when we rebranded Voda, I went down to Northern Virginia and we were wrapping all the trucks. And I walk in the garage and all the, original wrap was coming off. And then I went to the bathroom and came back and like, whoosh, this thing starts wrapping. And like, it's hard to explain, but it was like, whoa, like this thing has like a mind of its own.
It's real, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like either God or like the universe or AI. I don't know. Like something's making this thing just move. Like I realized that like I'm just the steward of this, but like it's Voda's its own living, breathing entity. And then the second for me would be the first time we had a training and discovery day, when we went to dinner with candidates, and then we went to drinks, and we had the candidates and the trainees meet together for drinks, and their GMs and our team, and like just culture, watching people, just the way they were collaborating was fascinating. And I'll actually tell you, I have a date. Today's the 11th, so June 10th, 2025. One more for me would be so yesterday is I couldn't make it last night because of a flight delay for our team dinner, and it was Eric's 50th birthday. And someone got him a huge cake, and they had a whole big party, like surprised him. And I remember we had a birthday early in between like our leadership team, and we did that. And I was like, this is so cool how like that culture like permeates within the company. Like, and I don't know, every company celebrates somebody's 50th birthday like that, like surprises them and thinks about it, takes care. I think that's really what we're seeing.
We definitely a big family for sure. That's all. Dragging out the airport here, a big hug, tap it over real quick,
It's a big family, yeah.
I've never actually met Sean in person until today. We talk on the phone almost daily, but like it wasn't even a question. I was like, I'm hugging this guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I didn't even get a chance to before I could hug. He was just like, his arms were around me. Like, all of a sudden I'm running to Dad. I ain't that much older, do you? Dang.
Well, that's a good segue. So how do you guys, obviously there's playbooks on like, how to recruit great people, treat them well, but at the end of the day, leadership is innate. That's something you guys both have as a superpower. What are you doing in your company to create great culture and teams within your Voda locations?
Want to go?
Yeah. Culture is always a problem. Not a problem, sorry. Culture is always something that will grow with or without you. So you really need to be present to be sure that you're guiding that culture and that it is the culture that you want. Now, for me, what does that look like? I'm there on the jobs with the guys all the time. I meet them at the shop in the morning every day. I'm there after they leave, for the end of the day. It's some long, grueling hours, but I think like at the end of the day, it's really going to pay off.
Yeah.
Once we start getting more, larger and larger, having established that this is how we do things. This is the Voda way. This is what is expected of us. We're on a job right now where the landlord is very much like, hey, no, just do it cheaply. Just do it cheaply. But our number one guiding principle for my franchise is you do what's right, even when it's hard. So balancing that is real fun, but it's a culture thing. My guys are looking at me and saying, hey, yeah, we can, cut some corners and skip some steps here. It's going to look like trash, and we're not going to want to put our names on it. So that is culture.
I love that.
So with my team, I'm looking for that skill for them to come in, and I can trust these guys and they can trust each other, because when you have a team, you got to be able to trust each other. When someone's on a job, someone has a certain role that they need to fulfill, we need to be able to trust each other. So we're trying to build trust within the culture, as well as, it's a simple thing, and it's not funny to you guys. It won't be funny to anybody else, but, my one tech, he tells me, every time we're talking, I'll ask him a question. He'll ask me, ain't nothing to it. Ain't nothing to it. Ain't nothing to it. So now we have a running joke, when we talk about it, when someone complaining, bro, ain't nothing to it. And it's just one of those things where just like, it's not a big deal, right? Let's just get it done. It's not a big deal. Like, let's learn from each other. It's not a big deal. It ain't nothing to it. And it's just something simple that, we're building our culture at our, we're only a year in and we got some new guys and whatnot. So we're still building that. But we're building it to be like, hey, let's not complain or let's not think too hard about it, and let's get it done, and let's learn from each other, and let's have that trust for each other. So that's the culture that I'm trying to build within my organization over in Greenville.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you got these teams. I think right before we started recording, you mentioned you feel like you just turned a corner in the business. I know you mentioned a few months back being in a dark place, not in a great place. Yeah. And, the ebbs and flows of the emotions of a business, and not just emotions, but the reality of the bank account going low and stuff like that. What I guess I would ask is, for you, how did you turn the corner? Why? And then for you, and maybe same for you, is like when you're in that spot, how'd you get out of it? And then how did you actually get out of it? Right. So mentally, how did you do it? Which it starts there, but then how did you actually dig yourself out and get to where you're at? Or maybe you're still in that moment. I don't know. But let's talk about it.
In business, there are things that are out of your control. For me, I just have to give that up to God and let him handle it.
Yeah.
You know? And during those nights when I couldn't sleep, I basically had a knot in my chest for the first 4 months of this year. And then what got me out of that tactically? Well, doing more jobs. I tell you, Coach, so for those of you who don't know, Voda provides the franchisees with success coaches. And my success coach, Eric, shout out Eric Malone, you're the best. He and I had a phone call, and I was telling him, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. And he says, Keith, look at your numbers. We were having this exact same conversation last year. You said the exact same thing to me last year at this exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, look at your numbers. They are up year over year by the month. Like not just a little bit either, a lot. And that helped with the mental side. He says, go out and sell.
Yeah.
So tactically, how did I pull myself out of that funk? I went out and sold. I went out and closed deals. I closed jobs. Wouldn't you know it? We had a record week that next week. There was just, the timing is, I don't believe in coincidence. It was absolutely a God thing. The timing of that and really helped turn things around for me and, definitely made it head in the right direction heading into our busy season now.
Love that. Yeah. So interesting. It's funny. Zach and I were having this conversation with some franchise owners this morning. We're like, we're different, but we're building a business too. And we have the same challenges, letting people go, holding on to people a long time. Sometimes you have cash flow issues, or you have our system-wide sales in Q1 were down substantially. And part of it is that time of the season. Right. And I remember being in a similar kind of just thought process of like, what's wrong? Like, what are we doing wrong? And, a lot of times it's a question of who, not how. Right. And so start focusing on who could we bring into the organization that could help. And I had a epiphany moment where a voice, for me, God said something along the lines of work on you and I'll take care of the rest. Mm-hmm. And that really, I read religiously, that started to click where it was like study, learn business better, learn home services better, be the person that gets on the plane and goes to the conferences that maybe your franchise owners can't go to, and take back the nuggets and bring it to the system. Like work on you, become smarter, and then I'll help with the rest. And that's been kind of my ethos. It's like, obviously I have to work on things, but every day it's like, did I get 1% better as a leader, as a person? Because your business is only going to go as far as you like as the leader, like the mental constraints that you have. Right. So switching.
Wait, before we move.
Yeah, please.
So there, and as a business owner, everything relies on you, right? And for me, going out in Q1 and just not being able to close any deals by myself, that was really, really tough. But at the end of the day, I got better at it. You mentioned 1% better. That's all I needed to do.
Yeah.
Let me tweak this part in my presentation. Let me tweak this part in how I'm building value before I try to close this deal.
Yeah.
So putting in the reps for me made selling and closing and finding business so much easier. It's the most uncomfortable thing. The absolute most uncomfortable thing in the world is to go out and put in the reps knowing that you're going to fail. Yeah. But you have to do it because that's how you get better.
Right.
And you know what? Telling each other stories too, like me, him, and Sweeney, we're always telling each other stories. Hey, let me tell you what I learned today. You tell me what you learned today. It's funny stories too, or, crappy stories too. But, we learn from each other just by, BSing on the phone too. So
yeah. There's nothing better than like that. And then like over, some drinks, like this conference, like the late night shop talk where you have those breakthroughs around selling, around, asking the right questions. So, Sean, you mentioned, right now you're putting in the work. You stepped into the operations leader role. You're putting in sometimes 12, 14-hour days, grinding it out. How do you balance that? I mean, so I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in like the saying, like work-life harmony. You just mix it all together. Like I love this conference because we've got teammates, spouses, kids, people are bringing all kinds of people. You just mix it all together. But like, how do you balance, or do you balance your work life right now? Which still, obviously you have a relationship with your girlfriend, obligations, family life. How do you balance that?
Oh man. I don't mind doing what I'm doing. So I'll bring my dog with me to jobs. I'll bring my girl with me at jobs on weekends. She loves supporting me in all my businesses. And I'm not just doing Voda from like 6 in the morning to 8 at night. I say I work 6 to 8, and I do, but I have my other businesses that I'll squeeze in like little errands here or whatever. But I'm working 6 in the morning. We wake up at 5. We're working from 6 to 8. I have to shut it off at 8.
Yeah,
I have to shut it off because I got to spend time with her. I got to give my brain a little break. I got to have a little downtime. Yeah. We go to bed by 9:30. We wake up. We do it again. I just have such a vision, Dan, for where I want to be in life, that I know that I'm working towards it, and I see my bank account, increasing a little bit, and I see, my team getting a little bit better every day, and me getting a little bit better every day. And, I don't have children. I'm not going to have children, but I have nieces, and I'm like, I want to build an empire for them. And the empire is going to consist of different, businesses and different trades, however I set it up. And Voda's my baby right now. Like Voda's what I want to grow. And the first 2 years of business is always the toughest. Everyone says it's always the toughest. So right now is grind time. I'm exactly a year in. In 2 weeks will be exactly a year in, and it's grind time. So I'm like, listen, I got a year grinding. I set this team up. Everyone knows their role. And you know what? I have my team that bought into my vision as well. Like I want them to be leaders in my team. So I was like, let's learn together. Let's all be leaders together. Let's run this together. Right. So when they call me for a little task, what would you do? And I try to teach them as well. But long story short, I have this vision of my own empire, and I'm like, I gotta get there. Right. So the more time I put in, the faster I'm gonna get there. It's with anyone's goals. The more time you put in, the faster you can get there.
Yeah. And that right there is something that not a lot of franchisees expect when they get into the business. There is the grind.
Yeah.
And look, it will chew some people up and spit them out, right? And at some point you really have to make that decision. Am I going to grind this out and go through those uncomfortable things? Am I going to do this, or am I just going to give up?
So I'd be want to buy into franchise. Oh, it's a business model. I buy into it. I get a team, let them run it. I'm good for bada bing, bada boom, all the process. This is not that easy.
Yeah.
You need to put in the work. You need to be the mayor of a town. You say it all the time. You need to be mayor of the town. You need to go out there. You need to network, build those relationships, and grow your clientele.
I think it's interesting. Like I've never really understood that because like I'm just so used to like I agree with you. I love what I'm doing. Like I love the action. I love the business. So it's like to me, like you said, like yeah, of course there's parts of your job that you don't like. No matter who you are, there's a job, the best job in the world. Still parts you don't like, but more times than not, you're enjoying what you're doing. And like I don't think of it as work, especially when you know that it will get easier year 1, year 2, year 3. 5, 10, people want to change their life in a year. You don't change your life in a year. You change your life over a longer period of time.
My wife, right around that 1 year anniversary, when things were kind of falling apart, and I was like, I asked my wife, I says, honey, should I think about like going back to work? And she says, no, you're through the first year.
Yeah.
She says, you've made it through the toughest part. It just gets easier from here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good that you have a supportive spouse.
My wife has been incredibly supportive. And my kids, I got 3 kids. My 7-year-old, he tells me every day he wants to come work at Voda. And, that combined with my wife being as supportive, that man, you want to talk about motivation. That'll get you through the grind, knowing that
that's awesome.
Not only am I trying to feed all of these mouths through this business, but I'm also building a legacy that my kids want to be involved with.
Yeah, you're leaving an impact. You're teaching them what hard work looks like.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the reasons I got in the first place. I didn't want my kids to think that work was sitting at a computer all day. No. For me, so I grew up, my dad's a plumber. I come from a family of plumbers. For me, my dad I rarely saw him in the morning. Sometimes I saw him at dinner.
Yeah.
You know, like he got up, he went to work, and he came home.
Yeah.
For me, this goes back to the why'd you get into franchising? Why'd you get into like a home services franchise? It's because I needed my kids to know that work is more than just sitting at a computer and yelling at people on Zoom.
Right. Yelling at engineers.
Yeah.
So let's switch it up for a second. What do you guys want to know from me or about Voda or about the conference?
What's your
in
bench?
general?
What's your bench?
Oh, because I've been working out.
Y'all, Dan, look, okay. I first met Dan in person a year and a half ago at my training, right?
Yep.
He was significantly fluffier.
Fatter.
Than he
Let's
did
be real.
now. This man's been putting in the work.
Yeah.
He's got the guns. He's working on the shoulders, I can tell. You're doing great work, man.
I don't do a lot of bench press. I do the dumbbells.
Yeah.
I'm up to like 75 each dumbbell, but for 10 reps.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, I've been pretty serious since January, but it's the same thing as like business. It's like actually not that long ago, I was like, what the hell? I'm doing everything. I'm eating right. I'm working. I'm not seeing the results. And then I actually heard about this. It's called like some effect. You ever like work out a lot or eat healthy and nothing happens, and then all of a sudden you're skinny? Yep. Apparently, like your cells, they when the fat leaves the cells, that it fills with water first. Your body's basically betting that you're going to put the fat back on. And then after a period of time, like all those cells go away. And so then you instantly, so every couple of weeks, that's why you see results. I never thought of it, but like you work out really well. Then a week later, the next morning, you're like in shape. I don't know the science behind it. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Just keep with the profile shot. That way you can show off the shoulders. Man.
The shoulders. Yeah. I've always had naturally broad shoulders, but,
you are practicing what you preach though, because you do say like, you got to get up, you got to, stimulate your mind, and you got to, go work out and get your workout in for the day, and then, hit the, because as an owner, our phones are nonstop. As soon as like 8 o'clock hits, our phones are nonstop. Yeah. So if you don't get that workout early in the morning, which I know
if it doesn't happen early, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
And that's the same thing as running a business. It's putting in the reps. How many reps do you think you've done of dumbbell presses?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But without
in my life or in this past few months,
right? Yeah,
a lot. Yeah.
But without putting in the reps, nothing happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to put in the reps.
Oh, well, that was your shot at a question. I could have told you anything. You blew it.
I blew it on a joke.
Yeah.
Who are we networking with lately that could be a major impact to our organization? And we talked with Citywide, which is awesome, by the way. And I have my own local rep that I'm working with and hope to do some good business with in the future. Do you have any other networking partners that would make a difference in our organization?
Yeah, it's funny. There's a guy reached out that had an amazing opportunity and then went ghost on us. So if you're watching this, answer my emails. We had some guy from a large restoration company starting another business, and he had all these jobs, and he saw our footprint. So we're working pretty religiously on national account opportunities. Takes time. It's definitely something we have to keep working. We parlayed the Citywide into one with 1-800 Plumbing and Air, I believe it is. More Collins. So I think we just closed that a couple weeks ago, or Eric Malone handled that. We're working on some stuff with Zoom Drain, which is pretty cool. But definitely trying to do more of that as we scale. I'm noticing that at that 100 owner mark, it's a lot easier to make some calls because we have enough of a national footprint to actually, make an impact. So, but I think like what you're going to hear at this conference, I'll give you a little preview because this will come out after the conference. But some of my exciting rollouts, a lot of the marketing stuff that Christian's rolling out at this is going to be really exciting. We're going to go marketing hub and dashboards. We're launching the Voda Cares Foundation. I don't know if you guys have heard of that yet, but that's launches in January 2026. It's a pretty cool looking logo.
Mike, look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
So that'll be a foundation for giving back to kids from broken homes that have potential, that don't have like the right structure, and then also obviously disasters, contributing to disasters. My vision for it is we'll do galas and raising events and toy drives through the network. But my hope, and we're trying to work on this in the technology side, is that, like the Ronald McDonald Foundation, or when you go to Target, you can round up. My hope is that like we're with a homeowner, we clean their carpets, it's $570, and we could say, do you want to donate, $20 or $30 to the Voda Cares Foundation, and it goes towards this cause, like be able to, or just round up the cents in that case.
Yeah, I love it.
That's just a technology, because we got to be able to get the swipe the card, roll it up through CRM, and then it's got to deposit into a separate bank account. So it's like a whole whole thing.
Software, man, it's just code.
Just code, yeah. Yeah, I'll get you to yell at the engineers for me so they got that.
Yeah, do that.
And then we launched some really cool stuff, actually. I'll wait till, because some of it's a little like for the system only, but you'll hear a lot about what we're doing there.
I'll tell you right now, I'm excited for your guys' vision and what you have for Voda, because I wouldn't have put in my whole entire life savings into this if I didn't believe in the people I'm working with, as well as the system, as well as your guys' vision. So I appreciate everything you guys do on a very high level. You, the coaches, the team, everybody.
Appreciate that, man.
On Daddy over there. Shout out to people clip the video.
Can I have a do-over? One question.
Please. Yeah.
One question. Like Sean just saying that really kind of, and we touched on mental health and dealing with pressure. You have a close to 100 people who have other people depending on them. You have this large number of people who have put their life savings, myself included, into your vision. How do you deal with the kind of pressure that can come along with that? Not saying that you do feel it, but certainly it can come along with it.
Yeah, well, first of all, we're aligned because I put my life savings in too, so we're all in. We're all in. We'll all be at Starbucks baristas if it doesn't work out. It's a great question. I found that right now it's difficult to stay idle. I went on a vacation and I found myself really, panicking when I had too much free time. Right now, you talk about grinding. I think sometimes just like when you're in a tough spot, the more action you can do, the better. So the first thing is I pretty much stay busy 6-7 days a week right now on the business, or obviously some other obligations, but not a lot of time to just sit around. There's too many people depending on the business. And then I would really say the health and wellness thing. If you're watching this, I was probably 25 pounds heavier at the height of my weight gain, and you just feel terrible.
Dan, you're like 6'10", dude. Like 25 pounds is a drop in the
6'10". Yeah, we're, minus a foot and an inch, but yeah, the fitness thing, staying busy, and then you guys have community in Voda. Me too. I can call up Zach and say like, dude, what the hell? And the next day, like, oh, it's great. And then the next day, what did we do? And I love that though. It's like being at war with your comrades. You sharing the victories, you sharing the losses, and I love the. You're right. I used to say businesses aren't a family; they're a sports team. I don't know. I'm changing my mind on that. I do feel like Voda is a family. It's a great community. So excited for tonight and kick off the conference. Well, we're running up on time. Thank you for joining the I Fired My Boss podcast. If you like the podcast, please do hit the 5-star like button. Leave us a review. Keith, Sean, thanks again for joining. We'll see you soon.
It was a pleasure, man. It was fun. It's awesome. Thanks, Dan.
You're f***ing fired. If you want to say those words to your boss, make sure you head on over to ifiredmybosspodcast.com and fill out the form to schedule a no-cost consultation. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might also want to fire their boss.